welcome back everyone. In our last tutorial, we were dealing with animations, running, jumping, and so what we're going to do on this next tutorial is we're going to add a ladder that we can climb up or climb down. Now, the idea here is if you have a ladder and you're going to climb up, you can only climb up, but if there's a platform up above, just like when you hit the platform, it stops you from going up. If there's a block, like a floor or a block above you, you won't be able to keep climbing up on the ladder. Okay, so just keep that in mind, all the different mechanics. Okay, and we're going to set the animation so we get a chance to review what we did for animations. So the first thing we need to do is create a ladder object. So you're going to right click on objects and then you're going to name it object underscore ladder. Now, one of the things is we cannot make it solid. If we make it solid, then we can't actually go past the ladder. It will like collide with the ladder and just stop there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our sprite for the ladder. We're going to, for now, keep it visible so we can see it, so we can test it. But there's no events. Ladder is just a ladder. It doesn't do anything, really. It just sits there, right? So let's add it to our room. And I'm actually going to move these blocks up a little higher. And we need to test the idea of, can we send a ladder up for our player? I'm going to move the player over too. I'm going to send a ladder up here, and let's just drag it out. I'm going to hold down Alt so I can then sort of click and drag. I'm going to set that ladder all the way up to this platform, and that platform is going to stop us from climbing any higher. Okay? So at this point, there's not really anything to code. So for our player, we want to go ahead and open up the player. And one of the things I want to show you is we have the step event, right? And let's take a look at the step event because this is going to sort of clue us in a little bit. Basically, we want to, remember we turned off the gravity if there's a block underneath us. I don't know if you recall that from the earlier tutorial. Basically, we set the gravity force in step, but if there's a block underneath, 2 pixels underneath, then we don't want to have any gravity, so we set it to off. Well, we're going to do basically the same thing. If there's a ladder, we're also going to turn gravity off. And that's really important because, well, we have to overcome the gravity in order to climb up the ladder. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the if object at place. So I'm going to type if, that's it. Now we're going to drag it basically underneath. You see how it's highlighted blue under the if object in place? As soon as I let go, there's this little line that goes off from the left. So this is like after we've checked. So if there is a block there, we set gravity force to 0. Now we're going to check to see if there's a ladder. Now on the ladder, we're not going to look underneath. We're just going to look exactly where we are. We're going to compare our origin to the ladder. If that middle center of our character is there, relative, then what we're going to do is do the same thing we did here, set gravity force. So rather than look for it, I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to click off of it and paste. And notice how it's coming off of this. I need to drag this up so that it's highlighting on the right, like so. Now we see it break over here. All right, so that's going to stop the gravity force as long as we're on the ladder. And that's the first thing we want to do. Number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to set the vertical speed to 0 when we hit a ladder so that if we are jumping and we want to jump to the ladder, we're going to be so good that we can just hang on to that ladder from jumping to it. Okay? So we're going to add a collision with the ladder. Not the former, but the ladder. Just, okay, sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it at least once in every class today. All right, and let's go back to our object player. All right, so now step is covered. Let's add a collision with the ladder, just like we did it with the block. We set the vertical speed here. So we're going to do the same thing. Set the vertical speed also when we hit the ladder. So we collide with the object ladder, and basically we're going to do the same thing, but what I'm thinking is let's go ahead and set the sprite to climbing. But we're going to set the frame at 2. Actually, we're going to wait on that for now. I'm going to just start by changing the vertical speed to 0. Speed, that's this one, set speed, set the direction of vertical. We still want to be able to go horizontally, but we're going to set vertical speed to 0. That way we should be able to jump and hit the ladder and stop. Let's just see if that works. Jump. That's kind of hard to see. There. So we've jumped onto the ladder, basically. Okay, so we got that part covered. So let's, hold on, just, okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do it kind of like we did left and right. So let's take a look at it as an example before we do it. And the way we did this is when we were going left, we wanted to make sure that there's not a block to our left. Okay, so we can't go to the left if there's a block blocking us. And same thing goes for the right. So we're going to kind of do the same sort of thing where instead of checking for a block to the left or right, we're going to check to see if we're going up. We're going to make sure there's not a block above us. But otherwise, it's going to be pretty much the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that. Okay? And that's the beauty of this. So I go to add event. Since I know that running left, running right is going to be very similar to the ladder, that's how I knew I could do the key down, up, and key down, down, which is kind of confusing, right? What it is, if your key down is up, let's go ahead and paste. So now I'm going to say if there's not an object block, I'm going to do 0x because we're not going left or right, we're going up or down. So we're going to check to see, is there a block above us? And if there's not, we can go up. So we're going to do a negative, because remember, negative values are higher in the case of GameMaker. And this time, we're going to do climb speed. So if there's not an object block, at least climb speed above us, then we're going to jump up, not left or right, so we got to change it to the y of negative climb speed. Okay, so if there's not a block, negative climb speed above us, we're going to jump to the point above us, but we're going to set the sprite not to run, but to climb, which is this one. Add image index, animation speed. This is not important anymore. I'm just going to delete that. Instant scale. I don't think that matters. Interesting, if we're going left and we hit the ladder, it should still be facing left as we climb, and I don't think that's a problem. All right, so now we've got this a little bit better. So let's just do the same, but the reverse. So if we're going to go down, we want to make sure there's not a block below us by positive climb speed, and then we'll jump down by positive climb speed. And we're going to go ahead and keep the sprite climbing. And then I'm going to do one last little step here. So I'm going to right-click and copy that. Once again. And now we're going to add, actually, check this out. I didn't need to copy it because we want to do basically the same stuff, right? We want to do the same thing, only reverse. So we're not looking at negative climb speed, we're going to look at positive. So all we have to do is right-click and duplicate the whole event. We're going to do the key down. Now we're going to do the key down, down. And notice the only difference is we're not going to check below, or not going to check above, we're going to check below. So you just reverse climb speed. So now it's just going to be positive climb speed in both. Now, yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and test it out and see if it works. And then if it does, we'll do a quick recap of what we did. There he is, climbing up, climbing down, we stop. He looks a little odd when he stops because he's just like in standing position. So what I'm thinking is instead of doing it that way, we set it to sprite climb. So let's go ahead and, yeah, let's do that, and then we'll do the recap afterward. So I want to look at the sprite player climb, and I want to see what might look the best in mid climb. That could be good, or maybe like that, or maybe like that. I'm going to try this. This is sprite. We start with 0, 1, 2, so this is sprite frame 2. So we're going to go back to the player object. And now, when we're going to set that climbing sprite to 2, we're going to set it when we're colliding with the object and over here. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just going to right click and copy this right here. And then when I collide with the ladder, I'm going to paste and set the frame to 2. Now, it might look weird when we were walking by a ladder if he kind of jumps over it, but I would think most players could probably get used to that. And we can always change that later if it seems like no one likes that little aspect of it. So let's go ahead and run it, see if it's right, and we'll just do a quick recap. Yeah, see there? Oh, but now he's not animating when we go up. So that's not good. See, it's always good to test. I'm going to right-click that. Now I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to cut it, which means I still have it on the clipboard exactly where I wanted it set. We're going to do the key down, no key, and see if there's anything here. How about step? We've already determined if we're colliding with the object ladder. What if we do that here? Let's see if that works any better. And if that doesn't, we better do it on the key down, no key. Well, we got to test. Yep, okay, so that's still not working. All right, so now I'm going to cut it from there again. And actually, let me just Control Z this. I'm going to right-click and copy this part here of object at place. Okay, and we're going to do it on the key down, no key. Because in a way, that's where we did it for, wait, gotta delete that, by the way. So on the key down, no key, I'm going to go here. Remember how we did sprite player stand? Well, I'm just going to paste this here. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to have them be in stand mode unless there's a ladder where we are, in which case we are going to set the sprite, copy, paste, set sprite, player climb, frame 2, see if that works, and then we'll do recap. Hey, climbs up, climbs down, and now he stops. Okay, so that's good. I think we got it. So let's do a recap of everything we've done. Okay, we created a ladder. We did not make it solid, but we made it visible so we can test it. On the step event, after we've already done this set gravity force, we check to see if there's a block, and we set the gravity force 0. We also check to see, so that was already done before, but we check to see if there's a ladder in its location, and if so, we set the force to 0. Okay, so there's no gravity. If you don't do this, watch what happens. I'm going to disable this for a moment. Okay, let me show you what happens if we don't set the gravity force to 0. As soon as I let go, gravity is slowly pulling him down. Okay. Now, if you want a slippery ladder, go for it. You can do that, right? And you don't have to have this at all. But I like the idea of him being able to stop. So I'm going to right-click Enable. Okay. But that is a cool thing of disabling and enabling. That helps you to test stuff out. All right, so this is what we want on step. Then on no key, we added the if the ladder's in the same location, we set the sprite to the player climb, frame 2. You can set it to any frame you want, or you can leave that out. You don't have to have that at all. Then for key down up, we're checking the block. If there is a block at negative climb speed, or if there's not a block at negative climb speed, notice these are relative. Then we're going to jump to the point at negative climb speed, We're going to set the sprite here and set the animation speed, which I don't think is necessary. That's kind of a default setting. And then down works the same way, but instead of negative climb speed, it's positive climb speed. Okay. All right. Then the last thing we did is if we climb with the ladder, we set vertical speed to 0 so that we can jump onto the ladder. And that is it for the climbing mechanic. If you have been tracking this using Git, this is the perfect time to commit your changes. So I highly recommend you commit your changes and export those to your source. So I'm using source tree on this particular class. I'm going to click File Status. I'm going to stage everything, and I'm going to put on here adding climbing mechanic. Okay, and then I'm going to push that immediately to the online repo so that we'll have a copy of it on the online repo. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. All right, everybody. Well, guess what happened? I did not test everything out like I should have. Check this out. Watch what happens when I'm not at a ladder and I go up or down. I'm climbing on nothing. And if I jump in the air and I go down, that's not good. I should only be able to go into climb animation if there is a ladder there. So let's fix that real quick. It's not too hard. Okay, we're checking to see if an object in place is there's not a block climb speed below us, but we also got to make sure that we're at a ladder. So I'm going to drag this and drop it right here. It moved it down below, and we'll change this in a moment. We're going to make sure there's not a ladder at 0, 0. So if there is a ladder, then we want to do everything else. I'm going to move that up. I'm going to jump the point over here and set sprite over here and set animation speed over here. So now if there is, okay, first of all, if there's not a block above us and we're at the object ladder, notice how this object in place is chained to the other. And you can reverse the order of these two as well. But let's test it now for up, and then we're going to have to fix it also for down. So if I do the up arrow, nothing. If I go to the ladder, it climbs up. Climbs down, but as you can see, I can also climb down by holding down, so I got to fix that as well. What I'm just going to do is I'm actually going to do the following. I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take the up, and I'm going to duplicate it, turn it into key down, down, and then change those negatives one more time, or at least that negative, and this negative. And you know what? Animation speed is default. I'm just going to take that off. It's just extra code we don't have to look at. Let's test it out. So we're saying if there's not a block underneath us and we are at a ladder, then we will go down. Save our changes, test it, make sure that's working now. Can we climb up? Can we climb down? If we are falling, can we climb down when we're falling? No. I did see one little thing I thought was interesting. We'll fall. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Okay. We can run while falling. Run in place. All right. Everything's working now. Now you want to make sure you commit those changes as well. So I'm going to save my changes knowing that it works, and I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to stage all of these. Now I'm going to say, all right, so that is an important piece there. I want to make sure I save those changes and I have a commit message for that so I know what I did. Very important here. So make sure you only can go up or down if you're not only not blocked by a block, but you're also on a ladder. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more.